Welcome back, everybody. So, this episode here, I'd like to take a little bit of time and talk about my reloading method. The steps that I go through for reloading match ammo. Primarily, I shoot PRS and PRS style matches. So, a lot of guys say that this level of detail is unwarranted and they don't put this much work in, but, um, you know, shooting, just like any other sport, is as much psychological as it is physiological. So, just to give me peace of mind, this is the process that I like. In my mind, it produces the most accurate and repeatable and consistent ammunition time over time. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to worry, did I change lots on the number of times this piece of brass has been reloaded or nothing like that. So, um, I I use Lapua brass. So starting with a piece of dirty brass, then I'll decap it on that Lee reloading press that I already did a review on, and then toss it in the stainless tumbler, which I also reviewed. And then after that, after it dries out, then it goes over onto my bench source annealer and gets annealed. And then after annealing, then one thing I do with all of my cases is I run them over this K&M expander mandrel here. And this just snaps right into the press. You see the ring there for the Forster to hold it, right? And so the purpose of this then is, my case models will get beat up a little bit. They get stepped on at a match because sometimes you don't have time to pick up all of your brass right after the stage. So you've got to wait until your whole squad goes through. Or you won't be able to find a piece or two, and so you'll come back later, or the ROs will pick it all up and you'll get it after the match. So some of it gets stepped on and the case miles get bent a little bit, or you run your action real hard and the brass flips around just right. You'll bang the mouth on the back of the action, right? Just like an AR, you get that little dent in the neck. So I run it all over the expander mandrel after I run it through the annealer, and that's to make sure that the inside of all the case miles are round. And the reason that I do that is I do not use the expander ball in my sizing dies. The reason for that is that I feel anyway that the expander ball, when you're dragging it back out of the neck, it can drag a little bit and pull on that neck and maybe stretch the shoulder a little bit. That might be me being paranoid, who knows. But the other thing then as well is that the sizing dies that I use Redding Type S full length bushing die. And again, there's the ring for the Forster. But so if we unscrew this, you'll note that there's no expander ball on there, just like I had mentioned. And there's also no decapping rod, right? Because I've already done that. So there's a bushing, right? So this die is a regular full-length die, right? To size the body and the shoulder, and then the neck of the case is sized with this bushing, right? And so this bushing, hopefully you can read that. That's a 288. That's what I use for my brass. And the way that you figure that out is you get a caliper and you measure the thickness of your brass at the mouth, and then add that thickness, double that thickness rather, and then add that to the diameter of your bullet, and then that should be the outside diameter of a loaded round, right? Now I like 2/1000 of neck tension, so I took that number, it was 264, and then added up the thickness of the brass, and then subtracted 2/1000. So I came up with a 288. That's 0.288, so 288 thousandths. And so if you use an expander ball in your die, though, I guess I'm not sure why anybody would do that, because you're already sizing the case neck exactly where you want it to be with that bushing in there. And so if you've got an expander ball then that you're going to drag through the neck of the case after you've sized it with that bushing, well, unless you've got, a very, very, very precise expander ball, you're going to end up stretching that case mouth out past what you had intended it to be by using the bushing in the first place. So it's kind of a waste. So that's the reason then that that I use this first, right? So after the brass is sized, then it goes into the tumbler, and I tumble in corn cob to polish real well, right? So this is what my brass looks like after it comes out of the corn cob, right? So this piece of brass was in there with a whole bunch more, obviously, but it was in there overnight. I just toss it in there and go upstairs, go to bed. But so you can see that the primer pocket is pretty clean. It's not spotless. The stainless does a good job, but I probably loaded a little bit full. But so then after it comes out of the tumbler, sometimes you get a little piece of corn in the flash hole there, and so I just use Lee Universal decapping rods. The rods from the center of the die. I use those to clean that out of there. It works really, really well. And then I'll chamfer the inside of the case mouth again, because remember now, like I had mentioned, the edge of this piece of brass. I don't know if you can see this here. Yeah, camera won't focus on that. Maybe. Yeah, there you go. So you might be able to make out there where the top of that chamfer is kind of peened over a little bit. Because I have not yet run these over my my chamfering tool. So these have been stainless tumbled and then sized and then polished. So the next step then will be to chamfer them. So you can see where the edge of the case mouth got peened over just a little bit, and you can actually catch your fingernail on the edge of it right here on the outside. And so I rechamfer that and deburr it to make sure that gets knocked down, because otherwise with that peen, when you see the bullet in there, then you get a little bulge at the case mouth. And like I said, my action doesn't like to close on that, so it takes care of that. So then after it's chamfered and deburred and all set to go there, then I'll prime and then throw powder using that FX120i with the auto trickler, and then it's back onto the Forster for seating. And for seating, I really like these dies here, and this is a Forster Ultra Micrometer cedar die. And so there's different stems for the inside of these. The body unscrews off of the base of the die, and you can change the cedar stems out. But you'll notice this is graduated here, and now these aren't perfect, but they're pretty close. I mean, I've got that indicator, that redding instant indicator, right next to my coax, and I'll check them on there every so often just to make sure that everything is exactly where I want it to be. But it's pretty close. So you crank it this way. Obviously you get your little plus and minus. Crank it this way, you're tightening it down, so you're gonna get a little shorter. Go this way, you're unscrewing it so you get a little longer. But works really, really well, and I like it because the inside of the die, I don't think you'll be able to see that, but the inside of the die is shaped just like the case is. So it fully supports the case, and it's got shoulders and everything in there, and lines the bullet up really well, and produces very concentric ammo. And then the ability to adjust your seating depth right here at the top without having to actually unscrew the entire die like you would with a non-micrometer setup. This is just so much easier. So I really, really like that. But so that's my process. Just wanted to cover some of the tools that I use. Hopefully you guys found this interesting and useful. And remember, you can't win a match on the reloading bench, but you can lose a match on the reloading bench. So pay careful attention to what you're doing. Make sure you load repeatable, accurate ammo, consistent ammo, and get out there and shoot it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and for additional conversation, stop by precisionrifleforums.com. Thanks.